When you think about a hospital, you probably picture a place of healing, right? It's where we go to get better. But what if the one place that's supposed to make you well could actually make you sick? It's a hidden threat, and it affects millions of people all over the world every single year. Let's dig into it.
Yeah, it's a really unsettling thought, isn't it? Could the place you trust with your health actually be the source of a brand new illness? Well, unfortunately, this isn't just some hypothetical question. It's a real and present danger in healthcare settings everywhere.
6%. What does that number mean? Well, that's the percentage of patients worldwide who will pick up an infection during their hospital stay. To put that in perspective, that's about 1 out of every 16 people who get admitted. When you think about the millions upon millions of hospital stays every year, that number suddenly becomes a huge public health problem.
So, what exactly is this hidden threat? And why is that 6% figure so alarming? We're not just talking about catching a common cold here. Oh no, this is something much more serious.
The official, kind of fancy term for these is nosocomial infections. A simpler way to say it is hospital-acquired infections. And here's where it gets really concerning. A lot of these are caused by what we call superbugs. These are nasty strains of bacteria that have become resistant to our antibiotics, which makes these infections incredibly hard to treat and way more dangerous.
Okay, so to fight this thing, we've got to understand it first. Let's get really clear on what actually counts as a nosocomial infection. Because as you're about to see, timing is absolutely everything.
So here's the key. The crucial point is that you walked in the door without this infection. It wasn't there. It wasn't even brewing under the surface when you were admitted. It has to come from your time inside the hospital. It's a simple definition, but it has massive implications. And this timeline just shows you how specific it gets. For a general infection, a doctor will usually make the call if it shows up more than 48 hours after you've been admitted. But look at these other timelines. A surgical site infection can pop up a whole month later. And for things like implants, say a new hip, it can appear up to a full year later. Just incredible.
So where are these germs even coming from? Well, it turns out there are 2 main sources. Sometimes the call is coming from inside the house. This is what's called an endogenous origin. Basically, your own germs get into a part of your body where they just shouldn't be. But more often, it's an exogenous origin. The germs come from the outside, from someone else's hands, from a piece of equipment, or from a surface in the room.
So who are these microscopic villains we're dealing with? Well, bacteria are the big one, causing about 90% of all cases. You've probably even heard of some of the main culprits. We're talking about Staph aureus, which includes the infamous MRSA, E. coli, which can also be highly resistant, and a couple of others, like Pseudomonas and Klebsiella. Trust me, these are the names that keep infection control specialists up at night.
Now you might be wondering, is everyone at the same risk? And the answer is a definite no. Certain people and certain procedures can make a patient way more vulnerable to picking up one of these infections.
We can really break down the risk factors into 2 big groups. First, you've got things related to the patient themselves, being very young or over 65, having a weakened immune system, or other health issues like diabetes. Then, you have the risks that actually come from the medical care, things like catheters, IV lines, ventilators, and surgery. Basically anything that creates an opening in the body's natural defenses.
So where in the body do these infections usually show up? Well, this chart makes it pretty clear. The urinary tract is the #1 spot, often because of catheters, and it accounts for a whopping 30% of cases. After that, you've got lung infections like pneumonia, followed by infections at surgical sites, and then those linked to IV lines.
Okay, so we've defined the problem, we know who's at risk, and it might all sound a little bleak. But here's the really good news. This is a story about prevention. There's a clear playbook, a game plan for stopping these infections before they even have a chance to start.
And this is maybe the most important point of all. The vast majority of these infections are not inevitable. Not even close. They are preventable. And the solutions, they aren't always some high-tech, expensive gadget. A lot of the time, they're surprisingly simple.
And it all starts right here. I'm serious. Proper hand hygiene, just washing with soap and water or using an alcohol-based sanitizer is the single most effective weapon we have in this fight. It is the absolute foundation of patient safety. For our amazing healthcare workers on the front lines, the playbook is crystal clear. It begins with super strict hand hygiene. It means keeping everything sterile during procedures, using disposable equipment whenever you can, and this one's huge, getting things like catheters out as soon as they're not needed anymore. And of course, using antibiotics wisely is essential to stop creating more of those superbugs.
But listen, this isn't just on the doctors and nurses. Not at all.
Patients and visitors, that's us, we are a crucial part of the defense team. If you're a patient, it is so important not to touch your IV lines or catheters. And for visitors, the rule is simple. If you feel sick, please stay home. And for absolutely everyone, wash your hands when you go into a patient's room and wash them again when you leave. It's a small act that saves lives.
And that brings us to our final and most critical point. Patient safety isn't something that just happens. It's an active partnership. Everyone, from the top surgeon to the patient in the bed to the family member visiting, everyone has a vital role to play.
So let's just quickly run through the key takeaways. Remember that number, 1 in 16 patients. The bad guys are often those drug-resistant superbugs. We know who's most at risk. But our most powerful tool is also the simplest, proper hand hygiene. And the biggest lesson? Prevention is a team sport. Everyone is part of the solution.
And with that, I'm just going to leave you with one final question to think about. Armed with everything you know now, the next time you're in a hospital, what will you notice differently? Will you see all the hand sanitizer dispensers? Will you feel a little more empowered to be a partner in your own care or the care of someone you love? Because that awareness, right there, that's the first step to making hospitals safer for every single one of us.